Hello, welcome to Paxton Road TV. I am Sam Switzerland, and this is number 43. And tonight's show is about Tanguy and Ndombele. Where has it all gone wrong for Tanguy? Some might say, has it all gone right? Some might say it's not gone anywhere, so we can't even go wrong for him. But we are going to discuss the enigma that is Tanguy and Ndombele. I'm joined in the house by super special guests, as per usual, from the top downwards. We have Mike-Hotspur Hustler, Darius 3K, we have Sid Spurs, and joining us for the debut appearance in the house is Kim B. Welcome, everybody, to the show. How are we doing?
Oh, good.
All right, mate.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
You kind of caught us out there. You caught us out there.
Jesus.
When that lot down the road loose,
When that lot down
and we're
the road.
winning, can't argue with that.
Beaten.
When that lot down the road losing with a goal like that, and then they miss a sitter with Aubameyang, and then forces people to leave WhatsApp groups, it's a very good day. It's a very good day. I don't mind telling you that much at all. Obviously, we've potentially got a game this week against Rennes, but the situation with the COVID might mean that we don't play. Do you think it's going to affect us at the weekend as well, though? Because we've got to have a certain amount of players, 13 players minimum, I think it is. And I think we've talked about one goalkeeper. Just like Spurs. Typical Spurs, eh?
Curse.
It's out of our hands. It's out of our control, isn't it? It's not due to anyone's fault or whatever.
I won. Sorry, guys. I won. Yes.
What
2 minutes. Yes.
You're obviously looking at the comments already. You're already looking at the comments already. I'm not even getting to that comments yet. We'll do that in a minute.
He's actually spot on as well.
Oh, Jesus. Inside jokes are fantastic in this place. Right, anyway, let's get on with the show before we start bursting into all kinds of frivolities and stuff like that. Anyway, right, let's start with... Okay, so Tanguy and Ndombele. Why do you think, and I'm going to start with Kim as a guest appearance, why not? Why do you think it's all gone wrong? Or has it all gone wrong for Tanguy? What's your thoughts on the player himself? Do you think he's still got an opportunity at Spurs? How do you perceive things for the last 2 years? I think he was here 2009. We'll get to some of his stats in a minute.
Sure. Well, it's quite a multifaceted question, isn't it? There's a lot of moving parts to this one. You could argue it's not really started going right for the guy at the moment. I've got to say, when I first saw him play, I thought this guy could be one of my very favourite Spurs players out of this squad at the moment. He was awesome. He did things on the ball I haven't seen a player do since, players of the York of Gascoigne and whatnot. But it's all in the application, isn't it? And I don't know. I really don't know what is an enigma to me. You just think if he could get himself together and just fire on all cylinders, what a player he'd be. But what is it now, 3 years, and we're still waiting? I don't know what to say about him. I really do not. How many managers? 3-4 managers he's been through now.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know, guys. I was hoping some of you could reorientate my thinking on him, because I keep waiting for him to come good, and he's tentatively in my favourite players pile, but he just lets me down all the time.
Well, when it comes to the stats, that might show a little bit. I know we can't read everything into stats, because obviously some players, not heavy on the stats in terms of goals, assists, etc. But as a midfielder, it might surprise you some of the stats that we do actually have for Tanguy as well. It surprised me when I had a look earlier. I'll come to Darius next then. Tell me about the good stuff about Tanguy. What's your thoughts on Tanguy? I know he's a player that you like from a talent perspective, but what's the good things about him, Darius?
I think after sort of this whole time that we've had with him as a player, I think it really is talent. That's really the only good thing, because I don't really know what else he's sort of can bring and has brought to the team that can sort of what's the word? It's sort of I don't really know, because he makes a lot of mistakes, and not necessarily mistakes that people would get angry at if he was to sort of get the amount of goals and assists that Bruno got. But because he doesn't, you have to sort of look at what he does for the team, and there's a lack of creativity, and he would fill that void. But again, the player isn't suiting sort of the roles that he's been given, and isn't adjusting to each manager. And I think I was almost blaming the managers at one point and saying he's not getting the game time, he's not sort of being given the chance to show what he can do and being put in a position to actually play his best football. But it's 4 managers now, like you said, Kim, and I just think that there's got to be something else. I look at players like Paul Pogba, who again, fantastic ability, amazing player, but he's not going to do the hard work. And you have a player around him to do that, and it works. But even then, he's surrounded by a lot of good players, and Tanguy's not really surrounded by a lot of good players to do that defensively and sort of in midfield as well. Going forward, he's got the players to sort of allow him to get the assists and stuff, but in midfield, partnering him and defensively, he's not got a lot of people to protect him and allow him to just do what he needs to do. So I just think it's a case of wrong player and wrong team. And if he was to go somewhere else, certain clubs I've heard linked with, I don't know how sort of reliable they are, but Villarreal, AC Milan, I feel like those clubs he would thrive in, because he would probably be the best player. He would probably be allowed to sort of not work as hard, especially in the leagues as well, given. And I just think that he would actually probably just be naturally just look better to everybody because he's not in the Premier League. And again, look, I give examples of Sebastian Haller, who scored so many goals for Ajax in the Champions League now, who was not that good for West Ham. And it's not to say that Haller was a bad player, but he just did not suit West Ham. And Jesse Lingard, again, another example, who's at Man United now, when he was at West Ham, was amazing and looked like a completely different player. So I just think it's situations for players, and he's just in the wrong situation. And I've had enough now, to be honest. I absolutely, like you said, Kim, he was in my favourite players easily, but I just think you can still get money for him, and you can find players of equal quality that will work better in Conte's system. And it's just time to sort of enjoy Tanguy in a different team. It's not like you can't watch him in a different team and play, his best football for an Italian team or a Spanish team. It's just not going to happen at Tottenham, unfortunately.
Mike, do you concur with the fact that it hasn't happened for him? We've seen flashes of him. He's our most expensive player. Was it £54 million we paid for him?
Yes, almost 60, I think.
Yeah, 200,000 or close to £200,000 a week. Is it just too much for him, or have we just not been able to get him into the right setup to be able to see the best of him? We've seen some flashes. What is it that might be missing, do you think?
I don't think the managers, and I'm not including Conte in this, but the previous managers, I don't think they knew his best position to play him in. I kind of take, even to be fair, I'll probably take Pochettino out of this equation a little bit, because when he first arrived at Spurs, he was largely injured when he arrived, and so it's hard for any player that's just come into the club in the first season when you've been sort of mainly injured, or you've been injured a large part of that season. It's hard for you to get into a player to get into some sort of momentum, into some sort of form. Mourinho, I don't think Mourinho played to Tanguy's strengths. There was occasions where he did have the odd good game, but I don't think there was a lot of players at Mourinho who I don't think he played to their strengths. Hence why his sort of stint at Spurs didn't last too long. Nuno, I don't think many of the players knew what Nuno wanted from them. And so, again, I find it a little bit... He did have a few games, like the Newcastle game, he played well. There was games that when he did get the opportunity, I thought he was playing well. And when he came into the Tottenham team, sort of like towards the latter part of Nuno's tenure, I thought he was starting to get into a bit of a rhythm, and then all of a sudden he doesn't play, and it's like, what's the issue? Why are you not playing him? He played well against Newcastle. I can't even remember the team that he got dropped for. And under Conte, I mean, I think I've mentioned this quite a bit previously. I think under Conte it's the same situation, and I think me and Darius had this conversation. I honestly think that it's the same situation as when Eriksen first went to Inter Milan. There was a lot of noise. Eriksen's not getting a look in. Tottenham are sniffing around. He might come back. Blah 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 blah. But then all of a sudden, the latter part of the season, Eriksen comes in and he starts playing very well. And apparently, it was all down to the fact that Conte didn't play him until he felt Eriksen knew exactly what A was demanded from him, B what is expected from him to perform that role in the middle of the park. And from the few games I did play,
it took about 5 months to mould him, didn't it?
Yeah, this is it. So it was just spending time on the training ground, working on him, and I think that might be the same situation as with Conte and with Ndombele. I think that might be the situation. I'm hoping that's the situation, because what will typically happen is if we get rid of him, he'll be an absolute worldie, and then we'll just be all sat here, I don't know, 6 months, a year down the line thinking, we should have kept Ndombele, because look what he's doing now. I just needed, I say patience. Yeah, he's been with us, 3 seasons. We've been patient, but it might have just been the case that he needed the right manager to know what to do with him in order to bring out the best qualities from him that would suit the team and benefit the team.
So one of the things that Conte said when he came in, I heard him in an interview talking about, he said, obviously he's an exceptional talent. One of the things he did say, though, was he needs to work a lot, but he needs to work a lot more than the other players, suggesting to me that his fitness isn't right. He's been here 2 and a bit years. He's been through pre-seasons. Why is his fitness not right? If it is indeed fitness, Sid, that is the problem. Why would... I'm sorry, I'll come back to you, Mark, but I just want to ask Sid that, just in case there's a different opinion. Do you think it's down to fitness, or is there something else within him?
I think it was his teamwork. What Conte was on the issue with. I think he said that once he becomes a better team player, then something along the lines of he might then start getting more.
I heard the words work. That's what I heard when he said that. He said he has to work harder than the others. That's
for the team. Yeah, for the team. I think it was
so. If he has to work harder for the team, that suggests to me that he's not doing something. Which, is it down to fitness, or is it just down to his what is it down to?
I think it's just being more of a team player. I think that's probably what it boils down to, because you look at Ndombele now to before pre-season, about end of last season, for example, Ndombele looked slim, and when he actually did play under Nuno, the last couple of games that Nuno was in charge before Nuno dropped him, he actually looked. I think he got 90 odd minutes, or he was starting to get the 90 minutes that he needed, and he looked fine. He looked good, but you can't just expect Ndombele just to turn up after a couple of games and expect him to be great. He needs a run of games to get, like with any player, you need momentum. So to get the momentum, you need a period of games to be able to sort of get into the swing of things and actually be able to pick up some form and hopefully have a good season. But I just don't think. Well, he certainly hasn't had it under Conte yet, so we can't really judge him under Conte. But it just feels that he's always been in the team, then taken out, in the team, taken out, and it's difficult to pick up any sort of form when that's happening. In my opinion,
I do agree with you on some of the points. I still think he's had opportunities to play this season, particularly. We're looking at games where we've played in the Europa Conference League, not the highest standard. I've not seen him do anything in any of those games, realistically. He's not just arrived. The likes of Ben Davies, given an opportunity, have excelled. The likes of Oliver, I know they've played more games, but even so, Ben Davies was a big part player in terms of our team. He's come in, taking his opportunity. Some players do that. With the talent that he's got, I would love to see him come in, take the game by the scruff of the neck, and absolutely run the show, particularly against lower level opposition. I'm not talking about he has to do it against Manchester City, even though he's a big game player. When he played against Man City when he was at Lyon, he ran the show. So he obviously has a talent and the ability to do that at the highest level. So there must be something which means that he doesn't do it at the lower level. Or is he not being played? Is he not fit? Can he not fit into the systems? We've had 3 or 4 managers now that don't seem to be able to get the best out of him consistently. Not for 1 or 2 games, but consistently. So I'll ask Sid then, what do you think about his game that doesn't quite get him to the top levels of a Spurs midfielder?
You know what I think, right? And you might laugh at this, right? But you know, they keep going on about Asian players can't get into Premier League or because they haven't got the stamina, they haven't got the fatigue, and they haven't got the bone structure that's correct for them to go and do stuff. I think Ndombele's got that issue because someone touches him and he goes down too easily. So I don't know, somewhere along inside his body or something, whether his bone structure or something is not strong enough. And every game he's played, we've never seen him provide 90 minutes of a full 90 minutes of him running around. You'll probably see 40 minutes, 60 minutes if you're lucky. The rest of the game, he's standing still. He's not running. So it's like what you were saying, Shane. I honestly believe that it's all within himself, because we've had 4 managers try to get the best out of him. None of them have managed to get anything out of him. Whether it's he's trying to be an individual, trying to do all his flicks and tricks, and then hoping something comes up to win the game, and he's forgetting that it's over 10 players are on the pitch and you've got to play as a team. I don't think he's got that in him. I think he's one of these individual players that wants to show what he can do and try and win the game, because there's many times I've seen him, and if something doesn't work, then he's not coming back to help the other players out. He leaves them stranded, kind of thing, because he gets pushed off the ball so easily. And for somebody who's supposed to be as good as he was at Lyon and the skills that he's got, he doesn't hold on to the ball that quickly. So 4 managers can't do it, right? The coaching staff can't do it. Then it has to be within himself. Now, whether he's mentally in his head, whether he thinks, you know what, I'm better than what I am, I'm better than what they think that I am, but they're not playing to my advantages, or the team's not playing around me. Maybe that could be it. But how long? 2.5 years now. We you know, it's got to that stage now where Conte's not going to say, all right, you know what, I'll give you another year. Conte wants players that are going to provide week in, week out, instant results. And if he's not willing to do it, then I don't think he'll be. I don't think he'll be there.
We might be forced into, because of this COVID situation that we do have. If he's not one of the ones that has COVID, he's going to be forced to play. There's no way that he can't not get a game now if there are 5, 6, 7 players, or 5, 6 players out that we've talked about, maybe a little bit less. Do you agree with what Sean's saying here, Kim? I have higher hopes for Wink Naissance, obviously, under Conte than Tanguy. The exit door opened after that Enes Moore performance, a team in the dregs of the UEFA coefficient. Is it an attitude thing, the reason why he didn't perform in that game? Or was it just the whole team didn't perform? Have you seen anything that suggests that Conte is going to get more out of him than everybody else currently?
Well, Conte, I think, is the wild card. He's known for developing players, isn't he? And developing not necessarily the players that you think would come on leaps and bounds. Whether he's got it in his locker, I just do not know. I mean, I just wish I could open his head and have a look inside and just know where he's going at to in his, in his brain. I don't know what makes him tick. I don't know whether he does just want to be the solo big boy player in the team, or whether he's got greater ambitions than that. It's beyond me, really, Shane. It's just I don't know. I said earlier, he's just a real enigma. You tell me. Do you think
it's got anything to do with his mates that he had? Sissoko's left.
They're not there.
Left.
No, I don't think
exactly.
I don't think it's to do with them.
Has he got a little entourage or something?
I think Kim makes a good point about the solo big player, sort of the big boy player. I think maybe he doesn't like the fact that he isn't the main guy, even though he was sort of the expensive signing and the record signing. Maybe he needs to be at a club where sort of the level of players around him are lower, and we'll just do the hard work and give him the ball, because I don't really know. I feel like he likes to hold on to the ball a lot. He likes it. He's a showman. Do you know what I mean? He likes to put on a show for when he plays football. He's not necessarily sort of that person who's going to graft very hard. So
what does he bring, Darius? What does he bring to the team? What does he bring?
He does have qualities. I mean, he's a very good dribbler. He can beat a man. What I love the most about him is
beat a press.
Beating a press. I was just about to say, the way he beats the press is so important and so sort of useful for so many teams that play in a certain way. I mean, like Liverpool, for example, he's sort of an ideal person to counter the way that Liverpool play, and everybody wants to play like Liverpool nowadays. So he has use. He does have use. I mean, his feet are absolutely magnificent. I've seen him twist and turn plenty of defenders many times, and I actually think he's got a pretty decent shot in him as well. And his passing, his through balls are absolutely excellent as well. The way he finds balls through lines are amazing. So there's a bunch. Is he putting himself in a situation to be able to show these abilities. And when I say that, I mean, is he going to work hard to get into that space to be able to win that ball, or is he going to be the player that wants the ball at his feet so he can do all the magic and then play it on? I think it's the second. So and Conte doesn't want that, and probably the managers in the previous didn't want that either. And that's why I beg the question: is it the fact that he needs to be in a team that he is the main guy and everybody looks to Tanguy to sort of create something? I mean, he's not that guy. I mean, he's an addition, but again, I'm not going to put all my eggs in the Tanguy basket. I'd rather put it in Son's basket. So, and a lot of other players in that team. So, I just think he needs to be the main guy.
I think, like someone's put, can we afford to be paying him nearly £1 million a month? And we've been doing that for nearly 2.5 years now, and only get bit parts out of him. Sometimes beats the press, because I'm going to come to the actual stats here, and this is going to make some interesting reading. And let's use this layout. Oh, look at that! Look at that! Look at that! I like that. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, right. Got to go back up. Here we go. Tanguy and Ndombele, for those that are listening, joined from Lyon in July 2019. Scored goal on his debut in a 3-1 win against Villa in August 2019. Started his professional career at French side Amiens in League 2. If someone can tell me what that pronunciation is.
Amiens.
Like
something like
Amiens.
that.
Amiens. I like that, Darius. Amiens. In 2016, moved to Lyon on loan.
GCSE French, by the way, Sam. Sorry, that's just to mention that's where it came from.
Moved to Lyon on loan in August 2016 and then permanently in 2018. Represented France at under 21 levels 10 times. Tanguy made his senior international debut in October 2018 and has 7 full caps to date. Right, let's have a look at these. These are the stats. I've not put all the stats about free balls and all the rest of it. This is just the basic stuff. Make of it what you will. I'll read them out. Amiens made 34 appearances for them, scored 2 goals, had 7 assists. Where I've put the green is where I think it's the better of the stats. So obviously only had 2 yellow cards there. Played a total of 2,223 minutes at an average of 65 minutes an appearance, and scored a goal every 1,111 minutes there or thereabouts. 96 appearances for Lyon, scored 4 goals, 16 assists, the most assists he scored for any club. 8 yellow cards, no red cards, a total of 7,153 minutes, an average of 74.5 minutes a game. So just shy of 50 minutes short of playing a full match. 1,788 minutes between goals. Tottenham Hotspur, this might surprise you. 87 appearances, 10 goals, 8 assists, 10 yellow cards, no red cards, a total of 4,972 minutes. As you can see, the lowest amount of minutes per appearance at 57.15, but has scored a goal just under every 500 minutes. Is this a case of him just not being played enough?
Exactly, it is.
I didn't know Mike was going to say that. That's why I kind of set that one up for Mike to argue that.
Not been played enough.
Argue the stats. Argue the stats.
But he's not been played enough for a reason, isn't it?
I was also going to say I don't think
he's not been played enough because you had Mourinho playing in a deep block, in a low block, and that is not. That's why he's got that many yellow cards straight away. I mean, I think we looked at not Ndombele. We looked at Højbjerg, and he had a high number of bookings as well, and that's because of the low block that we was playing under Mourinho. Hence, you look at the assists much lower than what they were. I know in fact, it's 87 games, so he's played less games than Lyon. So, to me, I know you can take away the fact that he was largely injured during Pochettino's era, but I'm honestly, I don't think we utilise him enough, and B, we're not utilising him in the right position. For me, he's a number 10, and he's proved that when he's come on and he's played higher up the pitch, when he's had the likes of Højbjerg and Skip just sat in that double pivot doing what they normally do, I think it's benefited him. He's played better when he hasn't had that sort of responsibility to have to get back into shape and sort of help defend a counter attack, or if the other team were in possession, etc. But for me, we're lacking creativity, and we've got probably our most creative player on the bench, and sometimes not even making the squad at all. So,
I do agree. I do agree.
It's hard for me to say or it's hard for me to write him off when I don't think he's been given a true fair crack. I mean, you look at Conte, right, and what he's done with Ben Davies. If he can get a tune out of Ben Davies, why is he not being given the opportunity to get a tune out of Ndombele? He's getting a tune out of Dyer.
I do agree with you, but I just think that those players actually sort of, the ones that you mentioned, actually do want to sort of improve and work hard. Dyer and Davis, as much as their ability sort of lacks, their effort and sort of willing to work hard doesn't lack. And I think, like you said, it's, for me, when I look at that, I probably wanted to see Tanguy in a team that was slightly better than Lyon, but slightly beneath where we were, because we weren't doing great in that season, but we did get in the Champions League final in the season before we signed Tanguy. So I think that we probably had to see sort of what he would do in a club maybe just below sort of the top four in the Premier League, because I couldn't really now tell you what sort of player he was at Lyon, and I still can't tell you that at Tottenham. And so I don't know if that is just down to the managers and not being able to put him in a position.
Let me put this question out there, because when we had Moussa Dembele, his stats weren't fabulous in terms of assists and goals either. He was always said we need to get more goals out of him, more assists out of Moussa Dembele. But Moussa Dembele, for us, in my opinion, was probably one of our best midfielders that I've ever seen play for Spurs, if I'm honest.
If not the best.
If not the best. But he didn't do the assist stuff. He didn't do the goal stuff. But what he did was he held onto the ball. Nobody could get the ball off of him. He beat men for fun, and he'd always then give it to somebody without giving the ball away a lot. Are we looking at the wrong? Yeah, so are we possibly looking at the wrong things about Ndombele? Because when I looked at these stats today, I said, this looks to me like a guy who doesn't look like he plays 90 minutes very often. His subs record is quite high. He's been brought on a sub, or he's been brought off. He doesn't play 90 minutes. But if you think about it, in terms of the minutes that he's played for us, that's pretty good, considering the fact that, again, he doesn't start a lot of games. He's come on a sub. He's had injuries. 10 goals and 8 assists. I know it's not Bruno Fernandes numbers, but again, if we're comparing him, let's say, to someone like Moussa Dembele, who didn't even have them sort of numbers as well, but played a lot of games for us, are we writing him off a little bit too early? What's your thoughts on that, Kim? Are we writing off a little bit early?
Well, I don't know if you can call 2.5 years too early. I mean, it's a fair whack of time, but again, that is mitigated by the fact that his time on the pitch has been cut short a little bit. I mean, he did get a fair run of games under Mourinho, didn't he? And actually, I think we did probably see the best of him under Mourinho. He was a bit of an all-action powerhouse in the midfield when he wanted to be. So it could be that indeed. But you know, I just, like I say, he ties me in knots, because I love what I see when he turns it on, and he's so good. He really is when he wants to be, but he just frustrates the hell out of me as well.
So that leads on to these parts then. What are the bad things about him that we say to, he's done that again, or he hasn't done that? For me, one of the things is he looks like he's in pain. Every time I see the guy on the pitch, he looks like he's hurt. His facial expression looks like his body language is just like, I don't see him with that fire in his eyes, that real steel. He gets the ball, he does wonders. I know that. But when I look at him on the TV, again, I've not had the opportunity to see him. I've seen him once, but I haven't had to close up to see what he's doing off the ball, off camera, should I say?
Not much.
It's still Sid, I was going to ask you that. When you've seen him live, what do you see him do off the ball? Because a lot of people are saying that off the ball, he's walking around, he strolls around, but he has put in the effort. I've seen him put the effort in, but it's not consistent. What's the bad stuff about him for you?
I think what you said, when it's his body language and it's that I don't want to be here attitude kind of thing he's got. But when he's got the ball and he's doing the magic, and the fans love the magic, but then when he loses the ball, the first thing everyone notices is he's not tracking back to get that ball back. Bruno Fernandes, people like that, go back and get that ball. He's just looking around like to say, go on then, go and do it. I'm not doing it. And then he just strolls around. So a lot of the times when he's lost the ball, he's not going back to get the ball back. And when we've won it back, he's still stuck in that same position and he's not ready to go. So I think what pees off a lot of people is the fact that he's got the ability, but he just becomes lazy kind of thing. It's one of them where it's like a bit of like Ibrahimovic, where I am the man. I'll do what I got to do, but I'm not going to track back. You'll see the best of me, but don't expect me to do all the dirty work. And I think that what pisses off a lot of people. Like you said, when we're watching it, my eldest is a massive fan of him, but he does get annoyed with him because he doesn't do the nitty-gritty bits that he expects him to do. And I think a lot of the fans just get peed off with that. Okay, yeah, you're very good on the ball. You're very skillful. Some of the tricks that he does when he takes people's left, right, and just moves them around like no man's business. But then follow it up for the whole 90 minutes if you can. You know, don't just pick and choose. And that's his biggest flaw, I think.
But how many times does he lose the ball when he's in possession? He doesn't. When he's on the ball, he very rarely loses it unless he's fouled or he's made a forward pass and it's not hit the intended person that he's made the pass to.
But I'd honestly rather a player sort of make the effort to win the ball back if they lost the ball than never lose the ball. That's for me the issue.
What I'm saying is, most of the time that he loses the ball is if he's making a forward pass.
And yeah, exactly. So I have no problem.
So
if
he's already in position, then you're not gonna. I wouldn't expect him to go and chase that person down that's sort of won the ball or taken the ball from him when he's made that pass, because there should be someone around. Well, the person that's closest to him should really and truly be the one that goes and closes that person down. But
he shouldn't be grounded, or should he? He should at least make some moves to anticipate the next movement in play or something. He just stands there. That's what that's what I see anyway. I think a lot of times he just stands there, and that's what pees the fans off, where you're not reacting or to what's going to happen next. Okay, Højbjerg might be there to go and get that second ball, but then he's not moving for that third ball. You see what I mean? Try and get into position, and he doesn't.
Let me ask Darius, like we had with Dele Alli, and we've touched on Dele Alli briefly. When we had the best out of Dele Alli, Eriksen was in and around the team. You know, them busting runs beyond the last man, such that Eriksen could find him, and he scored a lot of goals. Have we got the right players in and around Ndombele to get the best out of him? Or should we not expect to have all the players around him? Should we not expect him to step up? Is it a case of getting the players around him, or does he need to develop his game to become a number 8 or a number 6?
I don't think under Conte he's got much excuse, which is why my sort of patience for him has gone down. He's got Højbjerg and Skip, who, again, they're not, in my opinion, world-class midfielders, but they are very good midfielders. Skip is getting better and better as the game goes on. He will be an incredible midfielder if he carries on the way he is. And Højbjerg is a great midfielder and is solid, but defensively, that's what they're known for. So you've got no excuse for sort of the two behind you. The three in the back, for me at the moment, Dyer and Davis are both playing way better than I've seen them play in a long, long time. And Romero, before his obviously very, very sad and annoying injury, was, in my opinion, the best centre back in our out of our whole team. So he's got solid, and not even to mention Lloris, who, in my opinion, has had one of his best seasons I've seen him have in a long time as well. And then the fullbacks again, defensively, are not terrible. So I'm naming all these players who are behind Tanguy, and then you mentioned the players who are in front of him in Son and Kane, and he's got no excuse now. It is down to him. And at the end of the day, as much as I agree with you, Mike, I don't care if Tanguy loses the ball from playing a ball forward. I've always said that. If he's looking for a threaded ball and a player intercepts or it's tackled, I don't care. That's what I want to see. But it's sort of the bypassing of playing which irritates me so much. As I almost see attacks happen because he doesn't want to sprint back, and that's the issue. It's sort of when players, it goes by him, and I see players who are almost behind him go past him to win that ball back. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Son sprinting past Ndombele to win a ball that he potentially lost or he could have got if he wanted to bust his gut. So I just think that it's not suited. Go on.
You could argue that with all the players in and around him. Kane, how many times does Kane lose the ball, not chase the ball down? Son does his running for him, or more, or go and chase it for him. If you look at, I mean, if we go back to your point about the wing backs, Davis, Conte's found positions that suit those players. So that's why I believe, like Davis, for example, he wasn't very good at left back from an attacking perspective, but Conte's put him into a back three, which suits Davis, and I think that's why Davis is playing as well as he is, because he's found he's found a spot that suits him and he's used to. I.e., he's played it at Wales and he plays well, relatively quite well from what I've seen.
This is the thing. We knew this. I knew Davis would suit a back three. We all said that Tanganga would suit a back three. The thing is, for me, is it's not. I don't know what Tanguy needs to do now and what excuse he has for not performing anymore. I mean, that Mora performance, like Sean said earlier on, there's no excuse. You're playing against basically the same as San Marino, almost like the equivalent of San Marino in international competitions, and you can't even sort of show your quality. And I don't really see why you can't, because for me, again, like I said, there's players around him that have gotten better, that will work hard and prove to him that you don't need to actually have the ability.
I don't want to try. I just want to add this so we can continue this part. Is it the case of that? Because I sometimes think this about Tanguy. I think sometimes he thinks he's better than everybody else around him, and he sees the games like that more and thinks, I just can't. Like with boxers, they have to be motivated to get up for certain fights. Is it a case of he needs to be motivated to get up for games? And
but do you not remember what he said when he first? Sorry to interrupt you, Sam. But do you not remember when he said at the start in his interview? I think it was his interview or one of the first interviews when he joined Tottenham. He said he doesn't really have the motivation for the lower league teams in the leagues and sort of the domestic cups. He wants to play Champions. He said that. He said he wants to play Champions League football. He wants to play against a big team. So he said that from the start. That he did say that, and I'm pretty sure if you give me a second, I will find that. But that stuck in my head from when he first joined. He mentioned not really being able to get up for those smaller games because he enjoys playing those big Champions League games. As he proven himself against Man City when he played for Lyon, he got up for that game and he was the best player on the pitch. So, I mean, there's evidence to suggest that he will do that. And I don't know if that is a factor, and that's just down to the person at the end of the day. That's not down to anybody else but the individual. If he doesn't really want to play against the smaller teams and he only wants to play in the big competitions and the big leagues, but not really put the effort in, I don't really see how that can work.
So down to the manager then to get motivation out of it, because we've had three managers. If you look at obviously Poch, Mourinho, you can kind of throw in Ryan Mason in there for a little bit. Conte, we'll give him a little blight because he's not had enough time.
Well, Mason didn't even play him, did he?
No, Mason didn't play. Nuno,
actually,
go on. Sorry, Kim.
No, I was just going to say, do any of you recall his comments after that cup final at the end of last season? He said it demotivated him so much that all through the season he's building up to playing in that game, and then Mason didn't play him, and it kind of crushed him. Which is understandable to some extent, because you look at who he brought on instead or played instead. Winks. Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah. It's got to rub your nose in it, isn't it?
This is the point I'm saying. When Winks has been on a couple of times as sub, and I've not seen Tanguy. Tanguy must think to himself, this is what I generally believe. He must see that and think, this guy, Harry Winks, and the ability that Tanguy has, he's obviously clearly way above a lot of people's talent level. So he must think to himself, this guy's coming on. I'm not even getting a sniff. And when he does then get an opportunity, he's playing against the likes of Mora, might be a Vitesse or someone like that, and thinking, I've got to try and show that I'm doing this. I know I can. And it's almost like he doesn't want to do it because he doesn't need to, because he doesn't have to prove himself. But that isn't going to get him over the line with Conte. So let me just read this comment. Let's see who and what we think about this. Simon Stevens, thank you. Is there any hope for him? If you could sell two players between Ndombele, Gio, and Dele, who would you keep and give a second chance to? He is massively frustrating, but he's better than Gio and Dele. So, 100%. Mike, who would you keep then?
I'd keep Ndombele all day long.
Because
Gio's just a walking injury. Well, that's what he's appearing like.
Lamela's reincarnation, isn't he?
That's what it feels like. And Dele had it. Well, I'm not going to go into Dele. Dele's done.
Not tonight.
Watch out! We've got Jesus in the bottom corner. He's not happy. His face is there. He's already stoned.
I was saying, out of the three, I'd keep Dele all day long. Absolutely. No, I'm joking.
I was going to say, you have to be joking now.
No, out of the three,
a weird parallel dimension.
No, I think out of the three, you'd want and hope Ndombele can do it. Because if any one of them three can, then it's him. The other two, I think, are just lost causes now. They're done, simply. So yeah, Ndombele has to. But are we going to see it? And that's the problem, isn't it?
But then I could flip that question and ask, who is the most profitable out of the three players, and who would you be able to sort of sell to get the most money to then buy equal, or well, not equal, better quality players in return? Because I definitely know that Dele Alli and Gio Lo Celso are not going to be sold for that much, because we paid a lot of money for Gio, and Dele Alli could have been sold for about 100 million maybe 3 years ago, but not now. So Tanguy, I think you could still convince a team to pay a lot of money.
I'm going to slightly disagree. The reason being, I think you have to build a team round Tanguy, in my opinion. The same with Dele. I think with Lo Celso, he's more versatile in as much as he can play different positions on the pitch. He can play that midfielder. He can play off the left. He can play the number 10. You could probably even play him a little bit deeper. Sorry, go on.
Sam, he can play in the hole as well. He's been wicked in the hole.
But I think Lo Celso's got more versatility. I don't think he's as good, but I think he's got more versatility. So therefore, a team might think, right, he's more flexible. With Tanguy, I just look at him and I think to myself, unless a team has to build everything right, and the same with Dele, you have to then think about what can I do around this player to get the best out of him. With Lo Celso, he might be able to fit in a little bit more. That's all.
Why would you build a team around Dele though?
I don't know. I wouldn't personally.
You can't there, mate.
I wouldn't even build a moat around him. I wouldn't build a moat. I wouldn't.
Somebody will, and he's going to come back to home. He's going to come back, and you guys are going to say, "Oh,
he ain't going
to." It'll probably be Newcastle. It'll probably be Newcastle.
He'll go to Newcastle. I think
he ain't haunting me. I'm telling you that for facts.
He's going Newcastle.
Who like his contract?
Yeah. Well, the less about him, the better. Anyway, we're going off topic here. Let's get back onto him. So, do you think he's then right? I'll ask the question. Sid, is he, in your opinion, a Premier League player? And what I mean by that, is he a player that is going to be consistent if given the game time? Could you, like we've got with Skip? Skip for me is a Premier League player because I've seen what he can do consistently. Although we haven't seen him for a whole season at Spurs, I can already see that this guy, 20 years of age, is going to be consistent. Is Tanguy a Premier League player because of the level of consistency that you need, or would someone like Spain suit him? Because I think he'd be fantastic in Spain, personally, but I don't know. What's your thoughts?
It depends on who he goes to in Spain. Obviously, you've got the two Madrids and Barcelona, so he may do a good job there. I think in the Prem, this is my opinion, if there's one team that I think he could do a job and he'd do it very well, and it's what Mike said before, I think Liverpool would be the team because of the way they attack and with the players they got around him. He could sit as a front three or in the middle of the three and do a great job. And they won't probably expect him to do as much grafting and whatever. But then again, he's Klopp in it. But out of all the clubs, I think Liverpool would be the best suited to him. I don't think it'd be suited to Spurs.
Is that
Go on.
Is that Tanguy? Because
Tanguy.
The only thing with Liverpool is he going to do the pressing that Klopp wants him to do, and that's sort of.
This is the thing.
I think
talking about Tanguy getting into Liverpool's team. No chance.
I think he would.
I think he could probably get into if any of the top six were to get him, maybe Manchester City, who were linked with him, which is probably the reason why we bought him. If I'm going to be honest, because when he did join Spurs in 2019, City were very impressed with his performance against them, and they were sniffing around. And I almost feel like Tottenham sort of didn't want City to get him, but it's just he doesn't do the running, and that's literally sort of so pivotal in everybody's formation and tactics now. It's like Sam said, you have to just build the team around him and get everybody else to do the hard work. And who's going to actually pay the money and say, yo, Tanguy, you are the guy for my team? I don't know any club that's going to do that. Maybe if he goes back to Lyon, potentially, but I don't know. That's why I'm so confused at. But again, who would you rather sell out of Gio, Tanguy and Dele? Then you probably would sell the first two. So it's so difficult.
Yeah, that's what I don't think anyone in the Prem will take him. I think what you're saying, Sam, is if he's going to go anywhere, he's going to be either Spain or France. I don't think anyone will touch him in the Prem because
I agree.
They're going to see what he's been doing at Spurs and they're going to think, well, hold on, 4 managers, 2.5 years at Spurs, and no one's got a tune out of him for a whole game consistently. We ain't going to take that gamble. We'd rather spend it on somebody else.
So I'm going to ask him, if he was manager, if you was managing him as a player, it's a difficult question, I know, but what would you ask him to try and work out what it is that is missing for me, because there's a key element missing for me in his whole makeup. Because when I remember watching the documentary as well on Amazon, he was having that chat with Daniel Levy. He just looked so. It was like it was hard work to even speak. His personality didn't look like he's. I know in training you see these training pictures, but when he was in that conversation, I know his English may be a little bit suspect as well. But what would you be asking him to say? Come on, Tango, what is it that I need from you? What would you say?
Well, it's a toughie. I'd try and ascertain what his priorities were. Like, what does he actually want out of his own game? Because I'm not sure I know. I'd probably get a team of sports psychologists to work on him, because I keep repeating myself here, but there is a hell of a player there, and it's just unlocking that potential. But I don't know. He has got to want it himself. So you've got to kind of work out whether he's got that in him, that fire, whatever. And it doesn't really appear that there is that in there. That there's not even a flicker that I can notice at the moment. So I don't know.
Mike,
anyone else got an idea?
I'm going to ask Mike then. So you're manager now. We're playing 3-4-3, 3-5-2. Where are you playing him?
If I'm playing 3-5-2, it'd be in front of that double pivot. If I'm playing Tanguy, I'm having a double pivot behind him, 100%. I'm not playing it depends on who the opposition is. But if we're playing a top 6 team, if I'm playing Tanguy, I'm having a double pivot behind him, and I'm going to give him the free roll. And I'd have in front of him Son and Kane. And I honestly think if he had a run of games, if that three had a run in games, they would cause havoc. And the reason I think that is because Tanguy would need a handful of games to get in the swing of things, get used to how get used to the link up and the chemistry with Son and Kane. I honestly think it could work. What Son and Kane up front, they would cause damage to any back four in Europe, let alone in the Premier League. But this is what Conte is paid to do, isn't it? He's getting paid a shed load of money to work out how do I get the best out of the better players that I've got. I've done it with a lot of the mediocre players like your Davis. You could argue Dyer's performing. I mean, you even look at Reguilon. Since he's moved away from being a left back and put him into left wing back, he's performing quite well.
Absolutely.
So, and with regards to players losing the ball, Lucas Moura is a prime example of someone who loses the ball. He probably loses the ball far more than any other player in that squad. In that squad easily.
But what Lucas will do is he will work hard and he will always try to sort of make the effort to win that ball back and be a contributing factor to sort of the team countering or getting that ball forward in a counter. Because for me, I agree with you.
But works hard, but we're not saying that he's.
But again, that's what I'm saying. There's redeeming qualities of Højbjerg again that can sort of substitute him losing the ball a lot. With Tanguy, if he's not sort of being a wizard, then what is he doing? It's not much, if anything. So for me, it's if you're gonna give the ball away, if you're gonna have a lot of weaknesses in your game, you better sort of be a very hard worker and want to give your all to the team. If you're gonna have the best sort of talent and quality in the team, then
but
numbers will be inconsistent every single match. That's my opinion.
If you've got a player like Tanguy who wants to attack, why are you going to say to him, I want you to be far better defensively?
Because that's unfortunately that's how it's going forward. That's how midfielders have to play, even attacking midfielders. I mean, I give the example of the Leipzig game today against Man City. Their three midfielders is Kevin Campbell, Konrad Laimer, and Emil Forsberg. They're not the best players in the world, but all three of those players are going to work so hard, and that hard work and that battling and that grit and determination is what won them that game against City. They were able to just basically outwork Manchester City, and that's a lot to do. And sometimes you just need that in players. You just need players like a Kante who has the legs to just work hard and never stop running.
And you might and that might work on the odd games, but if you was consistently, say, out of 10 games between Man City and Leipzig, they might get 1 or 2 games that they'll win with what you're saying there.
I disagree though, because I feel like those players are so
hard
fit
work is only going to get you so far. I mean, Leeds work hard,
but Leeds,
look where they are.
But Leeds, and that's the thing.
Weren't
But Leeds was hard, but they still are in games, and the thing is with Leeds is that they are their own sort of reason that they make mistakes, because they are so naive in the way they play. They don't care about leaving one behind. It's not necessarily sort of them not working hard. I could give the example of sort of West Ham, who differently they work hard. Those players are running back and forth. They are constantly trying to sort of look for a counter, but at the same time they are trying to get back and defend. It's you can't just sort of have a bunch of talented players. Thomas Souček and Vladimir Soufal are not the most talented players, but they will graft for that team. And you can, I'm not saying you can't have the sort of players that won't do the yards, but you have to be surrounded by those players that will for that player to flourish, and they won't if there's not.
That's it, though, isn't it?
I think you have got there is a room for having what we consider luxury players. We've had a number of them at Spurs. David Gilliland being one of them. You know, David Gilliland was I loved him, but he never really worked that hard. I didn't see David Gilliland tracking back, trying to make slide. He didn't do that. He just wanted the ball at his feet, and what he did with the ball was the difference in games for us. But Tanguy, as the position that he's got, because he's not a wide player as such, when he's played wide, it doesn't suit him. No. Because of the fact that he does play centrally, I just don't know if Conte's going to expect more out of him work-wise, as opposed 100%. To letting him just have a free roll and pick the ball up and do what he needs to do. Because in the Conte system, particularly in that 3-4-3, I've already seen, if you're lacking in that middle area where Højbjerg drops back, or, you know, when someone like, you've only got Skip in the middle. You imagine it was Højbjerg and Tanguy without a Skip in there. We're going to be in a lot of problems because of that non-ability to get or do the yards.
It's not discrediting Kandai at all. It's not discrediting Tanguy's ability. Like I said earlier in the street, I do genuinely believe if he was at a different club where it was better suited to sort of how he wants to play, and I'm talking about Tanguy, where he can, just like you said, Mike, roam and do what he needs to do, then you will see the best out of him. But it's just with the manager that we've got and the league especially that we're in, midfield is so important. You can't. That's why Ozil was flogged out. These luxury players can't. They're not. There's no such thing in the Premier League anymore, because every player has to work hard in that Premier League. There's too many pressing teams in sort of the Premier League to allow players to just sort of walk around and only appear in 15-20 minutes of games. It's just not going to happen anymore. Especially in that league.
If you're defending higher up the pitch, i.e., if you're defending from the halfway line like Liverpool do, then you're pressing higher up, and you're forcing the mistakes in that final third. Then Tanguy, really and truly, the amount of running and all this hard work that we're talking about, surely that should be limited, because naturally being higher, defending from the halfway line essentially in the opposition's half. That should make his job and the team's job to a certain degree far easier than if you're defending like we was under Mourinho in a low block.
I 100% agree with you, and I always did say that sort of having that high line allows you to sort of press a lot easier, because then you're not having to do the distance, you're not having to travel sort of the distance from your goal or from where you win the ball to the opposition goal. The only thing is, and the problem is with that, is if you lose that ball and your players are all high up the pitch, you're gonna have to have a lot of players running back, and that's what happens with, like I said, with Leipzig. They have these hardworking players. They do exactly what they need to do on the pitch, but they get back and they can play that high line, because those players in midfield are going to run back and run forward and run back and run forward for 90 minutes of the game. You can't play that system if the player does it for 60 minutes, because the player or the teams or players that are fitter than that player who are going to bypass him will create gaps in the midfield, and eventually you will get found out. And there's too many fine margins in this league for a player at 60 minutes to sort of say, right, I've had enough now, and just get caught out on the counter and end up losing points that are going to be very important.
Let me ask this then. And I put a poll out, and I just wanted to move because the last part of the indifferent bit. So what I've meant by this is I put a poll out today to see do we play him? Do we sell him in January? Do we sell him in the summer? Or do we loan him out? So far, 61% of the votes suggest that he should be sold in January. Kim, would you be that bothered if he was sold in January?
It would make me very sad because I keep repeating myself. I've got him earmarked as a player of a hell of a lot of skill, and they don't come around that often, really, players of that quality. However, ultimately, I've got complete faith in our manager, Mr. Conte. I think he's excellent. He knows exactly what he's doing. And listen, if he said tomorrow get rid of Son and Kane, I'd be like, okay, that would break my heart. But you know what you are doing. So
I'm not having Son. I'm not having Son going anywhere. Kane, not Son.
We are chaining Son to that stadium, by the way.
He's not going anywhere. He can't.
Kim, I agree with you. Kim, I 100% agree with you on the Kim thing.
You know what I mean, though. Yeah.
So, do you think he should be sold in January, Sid?
I wouldn't be heartbroken if we did sell him. It's like what Darius said before. If there's anyone we're going to get good money out of, he's probably one of the out of the three. He's probably the one we're going to get the most of. I don't think we'll recuperate what we paid for him. But if someone's willing to pay 40 million, then I'd snap their hands off it. 100%, I'd take the hands off it. And just going back to an earlier comment, what guys were talking about his attitude and stuff like that. Something that we noticed at the game on Sunday is, when the players come out for a run on the touchlines, just to warm up and that, Tanguy came out with three of them. I think Winks, Dele and Tanguy. And they done their warm-ups and they ran back. Tanguy was strolling back, literally strolling back. And it took him about a minute before he actually got to the bench. And even when he got to the bench, his body language and everything was just not right. And the reason I say that is because my boy next to me picked it up and he said, Dad, look at Tanguy, look at the way he's just strolling back. He doesn't want to be here. And that was the difference. Even Dele ran back and even they all ran back, but he just strolled back.
Either that or he's just pissed that he's not playing.
Or that, yeah. But you know what? 55,000 fans, you shouldn't be doing that. Even if you're pissed, you should not be doing that because that is going to be, people are going to be seeing that and thinking, you know what? Don't play him. Don't put him in the squad because if that's the attitude he's got with Conte at the realm, then you know what? Get him out of the club. So 40 million, I'd take it.
So I was going to say then, Mike, I know you don't want to sell him. I don't particularly want to sell him either. I really believe there is a major player in there. I just don't know how you're going to get it out of him is my particular problem. And I don't know how he fits into the Conte system more so if we don't play a 3-5-2. And at the moment, we're not looking like that because of the free forwards all seem to come in a little bit, but it's not literally one in behind and then two up front. So it is like a fluid front three. But if we can get some money, we can get him off the wage bill. 200 grand a week is currently what he's being paid. Would that not free up to bring in someone like a Kessie or somebody else?
There's so many creative midfielders you could name in Europe right now that will fit the system better, who may not technically... I think, I honestly, 100% believe, like Kim said, I've given everything to Conte now. I think he will be able to convince a lot of players that you would be very, very surprised at to come to that club. Because
it's not a case. Go on. Sorry.
At the way things are going, I don't believe we're going to go through in this Conference League, which leaves us to have one game a week, most weeks, if not the cup games and whatever. I think if you give Conte signings in January and you convince these signings in January so that we will get Champions League this season and sort of finish in fourth place, I think Conte could do it if he's given the players in January, which will then allow you to sort of shop. So I don't actually have any sort of worries about Conte convincing players to come. It's just whether the money will be there to buy the quality of player that I want, because there's certain names that I will say that are linked with teams like Real Madrid, teams like Bayern Munich, who you wouldn't think that we could get. But if you fork out an extra 10-15 million in this market and you potentially even offer trade deals for Tanguy, because he's not a bad player. Let's not forget, he's not a bad player. He's got value to teams who may want to sort of not sort of want to, I don't know, they may not want to receive money. They may want Tanguy as a player. You may be able to deal him in a trade and add an extra 20 million on and get a decent player out of it. So there's ways that you can sort of deal in this market that will get Tanguy's value to stay at, like you said, 40 million. And also we can get in a player that's obviously a good quality, because I just don't think it's not going to work, unfortunately. I think we've all admitted, or I don't know, but I think a lot of people have, after that Mora game and sort of the fact that he's not getting any minutes, have sort of realised he's not a terrible player. He's a great player, but it's just not going to work at Tottenham, and it's sad. But I just think
with the players, with regards to the players coming, I don't think, like you said, I'm not saying it's an issue attracting them. What I'm saying is, what clubs are going to let their top players go in January?
I think it's a case of looking at contracts and paying money. I honestly think that if you look at sort of players who are because there's a lot of players who have got 18 months to sort of zero on their contract coming January, and you can.
This is Levy we're talking about, though, isn't it?
But again, I'm in the mindset, and again, I may be wishful thinking. I definitely am, probably, but you don't pay.
Available in June.
You don't. Not even going to get into that, Sam. You don't sort of give Conte a 20 million contract, and a man who sort of blatantly rejected us in the summer and has come back now for some reason. That reason I have to believe is the funds, and he's not an idiot, Conte, as well. So it's not like he will appreciate or take being lied to either. So I may be wishful thinking, but I do honestly just believe that man would only be at this club if he was guaranteed funds and players. So. For me, I'm not even thinking about the fact that Levy's not going to pay up in January. If he doesn't, it's going to be it will be a genuine shitstorm for the rest of the season. It'll be war between the fans and Levy if he doesn't give Conte what we need. Because we've seen the players have already let him down in many matches. So I don't see how he can't.
But we're not going to be held to ransom just because clubs know that. Because if the clubs know that we're after players and we desperately need them. We're not going to be held to ransom to buy these players.
Of course not. But that's why Paratici comes
on their bench.
But as well, I think I know you're talking about. But that's what I'm saying. Paratici is, again, you bring in a director of football who works well with the manager. That these are the reasons why you're bringing this man, because he isn't going to sort of bring in the players that we can't afford. He's going to look at the market and find deals and search for players within sort of the price range that we've got. But then again, I still believe that Conte's been guaranteed a lot of money or some money over the next 2 windows, whichever window it is.
Certainly over the 2 windows.
That's what I'm saying.
Agree. Over 2
do you not
windows,
think that he could, like, sort of, for example, I'll give the example of Vlahovic. This is literally my last point. Vlahovic is going to be sort of available for most clubs in the summer with a year left on his deal. You go in for him in the January with an extra 10 million euros, 15 million euros. You secure that signing before the summer. And I know it's far-fetched to say, but players, I mean, did Bruno Fernandes come in January? Bruno Fernandes 100% came in January. I mean, they pushed that transfer forward from the summer as well because they needed to. There was injuries. There was an opportunity to get a player.
What I would say, the difference being Bruno to Man United. If you was a player and you had the choice, Man United or Spurs, I know we've got the stadium, I know we've got grounds, I know all the rest of it. But if you was a player in January that didn't really want to move, like Vlahovic doesn't probably want to move, would you be forced?
He does because he's rejected a contract. I think money talks. I think money talks.
No, I understand that rejecting the contract is not a problem. But if you rejected a contract, come the summertime, you can go anywhere you want. He's still got a year left, but I just think that money talks. I honestly think, as much as it's like, okay, you could play for your Bayern Munich, you could play for your Real Madrid, and I still think they hold a lot of that weight. And if those teams show strong interest in that player, because a lot of those clubs like your Man United and Real Madrid will sniff around and will give out feelers, but if you show strong interest to a player and you say, look, I want you to come to this club, you're going to be this, you set out an idea, you set out a plan, and then you give them a wage that is not sort of, well, is competing with the big boys. So that's the point I'm going to try and...
Dependency is much more valued than going to a club like Man City. Look at Grealish. I mean, I don't think he was expecting to be sitting on that bench for that long, and I don't know if he's really enjoying that, because at the end of the day, I think he wants to play his football, and you can win all the trophies you want. But if you're
his wage is probably cushioning that.
But again, the wages speak. They speak a lot of.
So this is just going back to that point about the wages. So an untested player in the Premier League with Vlahovic would be. Same as Tanguy. We broke the bank for him based on the fact that we saw him at Lyon doing what he did at Champions League, made him close to the highest paid player at the club, 200 grand. Look at the likes of Arsenal having to pay Aubameyang 350 grand a week. Do you then motivate the players? What is his motivation going to be other than money? Because there's a lot of players earning a lot of money. It takes a real special talent to be paid that amount of money and still have the desire to want to play for a club that's not in the Champions League. That's what we've got to understand.
This is the point I'm trying to make.
So
Advertise that.
1 second. Money does talk, but money will get you players that are, I don't really want to go there, but they're going to pay me 250 grand a week.
So
I'm going to go.
Newcastle, isn't it?
Newcastle. I get what you mean. But it's sort of not the point I'm trying to. I just don't. And again, that's what I'm saying. I don't think that's the sort of the way I'm thinking. It's sort of that's going to be the factor that you don't use the money as the main factor. You use Conte and what he wants to do and what he wants to build as the main factor. And when you're competing with the clubs, at least you can say, well, even if you want to go to Man City, you're going to be sitting on the bench and we're going to pay you the same wage and you're going to play with us. So that's the sort of thing I'm trying to say. I'm not necessarily saying we're going to pay you 100 grand more than Man City, you can play for us. I'm saying if you want to join Man City, you can get paid the same amount that you get paid at us, but you probably won't be a main player at there because there are many, many good players. We want you to be a starting striker. We want you to be our main centre, our main creative midfielder. That's sort of
So I think myself, January, and going back to your point or your question, Ndombele is not a priority to get out of the club because we're only going to bring in a player of the same sort of ability that, okay, the only difference might be that they might work harder. Whereas what we need is players like Winks, players like Doherty, players like Dele Alli. We need to get rid of them and upgrade those players because if we had upgrades on those players and we're able to bring in such players, even if it was just to replace the same type of player that they are, but it was an upgrade. Me personally, I think that would be far beneficial to us as a club.
So I was going to ask you the question then. Do you prefer to upgrade the 11, starting 11, or would you prefer to upgrade the bench? Because you could probably upgrade the bench. I was just going to ask that question. What do you think? I think it
has to be a mixture. I think it has to be a mixture because I think, like for example, we've seen it with Reguilon's injured at the moment. I know it's not serious, but we're relying on Session, who's unproven. If you look out on the right hand flank, you've got if Emerson's injured, we're relying on Tanganga, who's a centre back by trade. So it's hard to play him as a right wing back, and us fans expect him to be sort of all singing, all dancing type of wing back to fall into place or in place for Emerson. Whereas you got Doherty, who is a natural right wing back and should be the natural backup to Emerson, but he's just not good enough. So for me, I would rather get rid of the players that you like I say, your Winks, your Dele Alli's, even Lo Celso. Get rid of him. He's injury playing. You can see it now. He's just going to be another Lamella. Get rid of these players and bring in players, in my eyes, that are upgrades and can fit into the team, and you can rotate, and then that stops you from picking up injuries, etc. Whereas Ndombele, to me, he's just not a priority to get rid of in January. Maybe if someone comes in the summer and if he gets the game time between now and the end of the year and he doesn't do what we all expect him to do or hope he does, then yeah, fine, get rid of him. 30, 40 million, whatever it is, take what we can and go again, sort of thing. But for me, I think we need reinforcements. Like as I say, like even Sanchez. If someone came in for us offer Sanchez in January, if we could use that money to buy a better centre back, I probably would do that because it's more beneficial to the team.
I'm going back to your point that you made earlier about whether we strengthen the squad or we strengthen the 11. I'm always of the mindset to strengthen the 11 because if the mindset of the players in that 11 suggests that they've got competition coming in, you'll see if they are really the players that you want. If you just strengthen the squad, it's like, well, I'm not really being threatened for my place because that player wasn't that great anyway, so I'm still in the position. What Liverpool did by bringing in, what's his name? The forward, I forgot his name.
Jota.
He was clearly going to put pressure on Firmino, which he has done. So Firmino, when I've seen him come on, has said to himself, right, I've got to make sure I'm playing at the top of my ability, and he scored. So it drives that competition. It doesn't always work. Some players go on a bit of a sulk, but if you've got
you don't
the
want
right,
those players, though, do you?
No,
Really,
and that's the players. Then you will know that the mindset of those players is not the players you want. I think we've got too many players who haven't got that right mentality. But the players that we've got in our 11, as you said, if you take out a Højbjerg, if you take out a Dyer, if you take out a Kane or Son, the players coming in aren't better than those players. So we got a little bit of a problem in as much as we're relying on players to come in, and then the players who is, oh well, I'm no problem. I'm going to be playing the next week again. Whereas if you see someone like Jack Grealish come to your club, Sterling's like, hold on a minute. That's what I'm saying. So that's what I would drive the competition in my mind.
And not only that, if you do strengthen the first 11, then the lads that are going on your bench are going to be naturally strong because they were in the first 11, and all of a sudden you've got a stronger bench automatically because that first 11's dropped to your bench, and then
100%.
the lads that are on the bench, well, a lot of them are youngsters, so they just go back and enter the under 23s, or they go out on loan and get valuable game time and experience.
I think Conte's learned. I think Conte's learning every game where what he's managing and seeing, and I think he knows what's on the field and what's on the bench, and he knows that I need to get rid of some of these and I need to improve that bench because, like you say, critical games where you need someone to come off the bench, he's probably turning around and thinking, no.
Well, he hasn't got anyone, has he?
Exactly.
Ready.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I would love to see someone like Lucas Moura regularly on the bench, knowing his attitude when he comes on his true. Because I know what you're going to get from him. But every single week, he's not being pushed to be in the first 11.
Exactly.
He's a fantastic bench player.
Yeah.
As bad as this sounds as well, Ben Davis would be a perfect sort of fourth centre
Another
back
one
in a three.
A brilliant player to have on the bench to come in as a left-sided centre-back because you know what he's going to give you, professionalism. But you keep playing him all the time, you're going to find out his fallibilities. So we do need to strengthen the 11, bring in those players, and then we got the right attitude for the players who are sitting on the bench to say, yeah, when I come on, I'm going to do a job, as opposed to, well, I'm going to come on and I'm going to play Moura. I don't really want to play. Harry Winks, Dele Alli, Gio, and Tanguy are all in that boat, and it's Doherty as well. We've got
that's
too
all
many
our
players.
midfield as well. That's like all of our midfield. That's it.
Exactly.
You have to do our complete midfield rechange.
The rumours are Rodon's gone 100%.
I'm hearing Brighton links.
He wants to go. But if you I thought his brother's on Twitter, and his brother's like, really. But I think Rodon's made it clear that he wants to go because he's apparently he feels like he's not part of the squad and he's not going to get any game time. So they reckon 100% he's gone in January. As early as Jan, he's gone. So we're going to need to replace him as well. So I think everyone, if the rumours are true, 5 in January, then I think Conte's got a list already, and I think he knows who he wants, and he's going to have a major shuffle in January, I think. And I think that bench, what you guys are saying, I think there's going to be competition on that bench, and people are going to be looking. That first team 11 are going to be looking on that bench and thinking, I better pull my socks up, mate.
Sorry. I have to come to this comment.
That is so
I'm not
funny.
having this. I'm not having Mark.
All you have to do is give
He's a
Sam a
proper
mohawk.
troll.
Give Sam a mohawk and a WWE belt.
He's
and
a
that's
proper
Biggie right
troll.
there. Give him a
He's
mohawk,
having a
that's
proper
Biggie
troll
right there.
moment. Here, Mark. Oi, Mark, you need to show your face. You need to show your face. I know what Biggie looks like. He's huge. I ain't that big. Come on now. Oh, dear me. The comments you get. Come on, Darius. Don't be exposing me like that. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's Mark. You're wrong for that one.
At least he's champion, so.
He's champion at the moment as well. I like WWE. I haven't seen it for a while, but I do like it. Right. Sid, stop it. Behave yourself now. Just behave yourself. Right? It's a serious show here. It's a serious show. Right. I'm going to come around to all of you. I'm going to start with Kim. In a few words, as many as you want, but not too many. Is Ndombele a player that you want to see stay at Spurs, or would you not be too concerned if we were to sell him between now and summertime?
So I just think I'm going to revisit my earlier comment that ideally, I would like to see him come good at our team, but total faith in Conte, and if he decides Tanguy isn't in his plans and he can upgrade him, bingo, happy with that.
I like that. See, that's a proper politician's answer there. Real politician's answer. Very, very good. Sid, I'll come to you. Jesus, what you saying?
what am I saying? Basically, is 2.5 years, 3 years, no one seems to got a tune out of him. Conte's been in there. Conte's not getting a tune out of him. And if Conte thinks in January that he's not in my plans, then I trust Conte 100%. And if he thinks he's not in his plans, as much as I love watching him play and my boys love watching him play, they want to see him perform week in for at least 90 minutes, 75, 80 minutes of the game. Not just one hit wonder here and there. I mean, we've had loads of one hit wonders, haven't we? So if Conte thinks he's not good enough and sells him in January, I'm going to be with him 100%.
Fine. So everybody's relying on Conte to make that decision. Darius, would you be too concerned if he went? Or would you want to keep him to see if we can get another year of paying him 250 or 200 grand a week? Would you sell Jan, sell Summer, or keep this player?
I'm gonna answer this question like this: if I see Tanguy sold before Gio, Dele, and Winks, then I will be fuming. If they've all gone and he goes, and we bring in 3 quality midfielders, I'll be happy. Okay. At the moment, I don't think we can afford to really sell him if those 3 are gonna still stay at the club, because, like Mike has made a very, 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 very good point. Those 3 can go way, way quicker before Tanguy, because at least Tanguy can actually bring something. Those 3 at the moment are literally bringing nothing. They almost feel like you're playing with 10 men. So
who are you going to get more money? Who are you going to get more money out of? I'm going to flip the problem, Sid. I'm going to flip the question you said.
That's the problem, and that's why I'm so like, can we find players who are cheap, who are the quality that we need? Probably not in January. So you are going to need to make some money off of someone, and sort of, if you're gonna think about the players who can be sold,
Dele Alli is a superhero. He had his Iron Man mask on. He's Boohoo Man, so he's the most valuable player that we have ever
had. He's a
had.
Marketable asset. Get rid of him.
Marketable asset.
Else's problem.
He's Boohoo Man. He's a superhero. Come on, Mike. He's more than just marketable. He can walk through walls.
I think Pep would have him at Man City just to carry water bottles as revenge for having stuff going on with his book. That's for another show, to be honest with you. I mean, like I said, I think Tanguy just needs to be given a chance if those other players are going to be given a chance. But if those players are sold, he must keep him, like you said, Kim. And I do think he's an amazing player. I've loved watching him play. He genuinely made me smile at times in Jose's tenure and Nuno's tenure. Well, I did not even want to watch Tottenham play football, where at least when I saw Tanguy do a step over or two, I smiled for about 30 seconds of the game. So I always remember.
That's how low we were. We were really low at one point when that was our highlight of the game. Oh, Jesus.
But yeah, and Shaw makes a good point about the foreign players limit as well, to be fair.
That's a good point. Mike, your thoughts?
I wouldn't. I'll be honest. I wouldn't sell him. Not in January. Not unless I see those players that we've mentioned out the door first. I know there's a couple of comments saying that would get more money out of Ndombele, but essentially all we would do is just replace Ndombele with another type of Ndombele player. As I say, that might just give a bit more in terms of work rate. Whereas, I mean, if you can only get rid of 2 players, for example, in a January window, because January window, let's be honest, is quite a difficult window to get rid of players and to bring players in. If you can only get rid of a couple of players, there's players that would be more beneficial to us getting rid of than Ndombele. I would keep him.
4.
Well, I could name probably 5, but
my 4 are Harry and Winks, Dele and Ali. Them 4 players, they can go.
Hold on. What about Giovanni?
Yeah.
No. Dele and Ali, Harry and Winks. The only 2 players I need to go. Them others can stay. But them 2, they have to go.
Right, where's that picture of Big E gone?
I would agree with that. Because they're not bringing anything to the squad. They're just a waste of space.
They're bringing nothing.
Ali's bringing marketing. He's bringing a different market of fans. All the girls of the Boohoo who love Boohoo, who love Dele Alli, they're going to become Spurs fans. So Sid, I know why you're rooting for him. He'll bring that extra 2 million, and we can put that 2 million.
2 million? Are you mad? It's
sorry,
200 million.
Oh wow, I was going to say 200. I was going to say 200,000 to be fair, but yeah.
Hell no. No, but listen, I think you can go.
What you would do with Ndombele, you keep him for the rest of the season and reassess it in the summer.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
But-
Particularly
That's very sensible.
if you are going to get rid of players, there are more players I would want to see leave
But-
rather than him. If we have got a cultivate, I'd rather keep him till the summer at least. I think you're right on that one, Mike.
Yeah, especially like I say, our priority would be get rid of either Winks, Dele, or Doherty, any of them three, or all three of them if possible. If that was a realistic sort of amount of players that we could get rid of, those would be the free priority, and bring players in that are upgrades to them, who will play the Conte way, put in the work rate, a fit, do what basically Conte wants them to do, and I think would be quite well, doing quite well there.
Right. Sean made a good point about the English players. So if we were to get rid of Harry Winks and Dele Alli, we'd have to probably look to bring in 2 English players, or we'd have to rebalance it somehow. Maybe, I don't know. We'd have to do something, but them 2 have to go. Just call them Harry Winkio and Dele Alli.
The other lad as well.
Make them foreign. Make them foreign players, and tell them whoever you're selling them to that they're foreign.
Yeah.
Dele Alli. There you go. I've done it.
Jack
Sorted.
Clark as well is another one. Get rid of him. He's not bringing anything to the club. If we could get 5 million for him, take it.
Right, I'm going to come around to all of you. Just to Kim. Where can the viewers find you? Let them know.
Well, yeah, so I don't really have my own channel as such, but I'm always flitting around the comment sections. And I've got to say, the Love Lounge, Mari's Love Lounge, brilliant show. I'm on it most weeks. Wicked. If you've never watched it, get on there.
Lovely,
I agree.
lovely.
I've been a member of the Love Lounge as well, Kim. So I can test.
Get on it. Get on it. It's
He's not in love now. You won't see him on the Love Lounge.
It sounds too much like soft porn to me. The Love Lounge.
He's got a low cell phone song, and it honestly, Sid, it puts you to the test, mate, with your singing.
Has he got low lighting and everything? He's got low lighting and red settee as well in it, something like that. He must have.
Very white in the background.
You got to be, but with a name like Love Lounge, come on.
The Love Lounge.
I'm not having none of that.
He's not having it.
For a Spurs channel, come on now. If we call this the Love Lounge, what do you think will happen here?
It gets saucy.
It's the Spurs Love Lounge.
You don't know what happens on the Love Lounge. You have to.
That's
be
what I'm saying.
What stays on the Love Lounge?
I don't know what happens on the Love. I saw Murray with a red wine, and he was doing smiles like this. So I know what's going on that channel here. I'm not having it. I'm sorry. Sorry, Murray.
You're not, mate. You're not.
I'll look out for you, Kim. No problems. Sid, tell the viewers about Art Sid and the transfer windows coming up soon as well.
Yeah, ask Sid on Friday. So if anyone's got any topics to talk about, give me a shout, leave it in the comments, or just put it on the community on Paxton Road TV. I'm looking at actually this Friday. I'm thinking of Hugo Lloris one because contract's coming up now, and there's talks about whether he gets a new one or not, and a certain Jordan Pickford as his replacement, which I probably don't want. But anyway, leave your comments on myself. Yeah, leave your comments on that one. And yeah, a couple of weeks away, and we're coming to the transfer window. So Sid says he's coming back, and I'll be keeping you up to date with all the ins and outs, shaking it all about. So watch this space.
There we go. I know that we're going to come to the Hustler. The Hustler. I know we've been talking about bloody watch-alongs and that. Hustlers trying to push us to do watch-alongs. Are you going to be doing watch-alongs, Hustler? Are we going to promote this, or shall we not promote it yet? What's going on? Hustler, talk to me.
We need to talk about this behind the scenes, mate. Because especially if Tottenham are not doing well in games and we're conceding goals, which touch wood that doesn't happen, but I'm sure we'll be doing some sort of watch along at some point. We've got to make our debut on a watch along. I think the fans probably they'd probably quite like that, wouldn't they? But
the Paxton Love Lounge watch along. Imagine that, eh?
Love Lounge watch along.
Doing things like that.
Oh, God, no. I'm not going to say nothing. I've got to be careful what I'm going to say. So I'm not going to say nothing.
Kim, you should not have done that. That's made my night. That one has. That's made my night.
To jump off stream.
He's gone on it, hasn't he? That's what he's done. He's gone to prepare. He's gone to prepare for that one. Mr. Loverman himself. He's gone to prepare.
Mr. Lover.
I think we need to go. I think that's it. Right then. Hotspur
We're done
Hustler.
out here.
We're done. Hotspur Hustler, Sid Spurs, and Kimby, thank you very much. Thank you for appearing on your first show. I hope you've enjoyed it, and you will definitely have to be back, Kim. No doubt about that.
Thanks for having me.
No
Appreciate it.
problem. Before we go, please, if you are watching, if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe as well to Paxton Road TV, share, comment. We have polls running on the community page. Have a look out for the polls. They've been very good, actually. A lot of people voting on them, so it's really good.
Yeah.
So just look out. Memberships as well, super chats, all the stuff. Go onto our page and you'll find it. Paxton Road TV. That is about it. Again, saying thank you to Mike, thank you to Sid, thank you to Kim. Time to go. And we are